It talks about the current situation and also gives you the update regarding Indian ships that have been stranded in the economic corridor.
As concerns loom large over Indian energy supplies stranded in the Strait of Hormuz, dozens of Indian ships carrying crude, LPG and LNG continue to remain trapped in the Strait of Hormuz as conflict escalates in the Gulf region. And in the midst of this, adding on to the resultant global energy crisis, fresh visuals emerge from the Strait of Hormuz. These exclusive visuals, captured by Indian seafarers, show the stranded vessels placed along the sea. One captain aboard a stranded vessel goes on to make a claim. He says shelling has reportedly increased in the past 24 hours. While a few vessels have made it to the safety, the majority remain stranded on the west side with over 600 crew members aboard waiting for clearance. But the government is assured that none of these vessels have been struck so far. Earlier this week, 3 LPG carriers, Shivalik, Nanda Devi and Jagladki, completed their voyage to stations at Mundra Port and Kandla Port respectively.
And now here's some more on this. About 611 Indian crew members remain aboard the about 22 vessels that are stuck in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, one of the sailors aboard has shared his journey with us on Republic. In a video posted on social media, Indian seafarer Ajit talks about his anxiety-ridden ordeal. The man says that the crew found out about the war while ship was loading in Qatar. Now, he shared experience about being stuck in the Strait of Hormuz and the situation regarding the other ships as well. Take a listen.
The war between US, Israel and Iran has resulted in the Strait of Hormuz being weaponized. While Indian ships had permission to cross the strait, at least 22 Indian vessels remain stuck in the contentious waters. Now, Republic has obtained exclusive visuals from the region sent by an Indian ship's captain. The captain reports that shelling has increased in the past 24 hours.
We are feeling safe now. Now there is no much panic as long as, the naval ships are patrolling around us and our all government is helping us, our company is helping us. Whatever our requirements are. So that is totally fine. Apart from that, yes, we have been witnessing the attacks, missile attacks in and out of Iran and other countries, especially the last night, today early morning, there were around hundreds of missiles were fired to the Iran. That was a bit scary and very unfortunate.
The Indian ministries have taken cognizance of all Indians aboard, briefing that the crew is safe and sound.
सभी भारतीय जहाज और भारतीय नाविक इंक्लूडिंग 611 जो कि वेस्ट ऑफ स्ट्रेट ऑफ हॉर्मुज में हैं, 22 इंडियन फ्लैग वेसल्स पे सभी सुरक्षित हैं और कोई घटना की सूचना नहीं है.
Iran, meanwhile, has stated that no ship will pass through the Hormuz for the next 24 hours.
All right, viewers, and now shifting focus to some breaking developments we're getting at this moment. Questions are now being raised over the alleged links between the U.S. State Department and the American national who has now been arrested by NIA, Van Dyke. Now, reports suggest that Van Dyke, who documented the Iraq war in 2009, was actually arrested by Iraqi police while being embedded with the US forces and remained untraceable for nearly 48 hours before being located in military barracks. In fact, we're getting you details about Matthew Van Dyke, who remains in NIA custody. Now, he was documented He documented the Iraq war in 2009. He has been going through the war zones back in 2000s. He was then arrested by the Iraqi police in the same year as he was covering the war in the region. And then he was rescued by the US military. In fact, remember, he was untraceable for about 48 hours, according to US State Department. And then the State Department located him in military barracks. Now remember, at this time he was embedded within the US forces while he was covering the war as well. Now US State Department in fact secured his release, and Iran labeled Van Dijk as a Jewish spy. So when he was released, there was a report put up by Iranian media which in fact labeled him as a Jewish spy. Now, post-Iranian report, the State Department had to ask Van Dijk to leave Iraq as soon as possible, and he left the country way before his scheduled departure.
Certain restricted areas which are restricted in India, and there are certain protected areas. So for those areas, you need a permission to travel there, and whether they were in possession of this particular permission or not, it is now in the court. It will be presented, and thereafter we'll come to know. But I would refer you to what the NIA has had to say. I haven't gone into the technical details of it, but I understand that they may be wanting of certain documents for traveling to that part of India. There are certain restricted areas which are restricted in India, and there are certain protected areas. So for those areas, you need a permission to travel there, and whether they were in possession of this particular permission or not, it is now in the court. It will be presented, and thereafter we'll come to know. But I would refer you to what the NIA has had to say. I haven't gone into the technical details of it, but I understand that they may be wanting of certain documents for traveling to that part of India.
All right, viewers are now shifting focus to the impact on oil economy of the war investigation. Our crude oil prices are soaring as tensions in our Middle East escalate. Brent crude has now jumped to about $114 per barrel, while US's West Texas intermediate rose to about $97.30. Now in India, MCX crude touched about 9,000 rupees and 99 per barrel, up more than 1%. And meanwhile, we're also looking at an impact on our US national debt, which has now crossed about $39 trillion just weeks into the ongoing conflict in Iran, certainly adding more pressure on the global markets. Now we're looking at the impact on not just the markets, oil prices, all across the global economy has been impacted by the ongoing war. And I'm now being joined by Arn Rasmussen, a chief analyst and head of research global risk management on this. All right, Rasmussen, thank you so much for joining us on Republic TV. I want to ask you, we've seen crude prices now jumping about $115 per barrel. And this comes as Iran has now vowed to attack oil facilities all across the Gulf nations. So how do you gauge this recent spike in oil prices, and where do you see it going forward?
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, I think it reflects that we are seeing a severe escalation in the conflict now. We have moved into a phase where we are attacking energy installations. We are moving up the escalation ladder. And I think the market is starting to realize, especially the futures market that we are looking at here, are starting to realize that this crisis may extend for a longer period of time. Not only may the war extend, but the closure of the strait may extend also beyond, let's say, if the US stop bombing. And we are starting to see an effect on physical installations. Oil production may not recover as fast. Refinery capacity may not recover. LNG supplies may certainly not recover as fast as believed just a few days ago. And the bombings, the escalation yesterday was certainly something I guess shocked the market.
Right. Now we've already seen about 48% rise in the prices of crude since the war began. And there were warnings issued by Iran saying it could also touch $120 per barrel. Do you also see it going in that direction in the coming few days?
I don't know how we are going, but we are certainly moving into a phase where what is going to sort of stabilize the market, what is going to clear the market. And it is basically that we need to see what you call demand destruction. We basically need demand to give in to the high prices. And I'm not sure we are there yet with Brent around 115. In that respect, there's probably more upside. We are probably starting to see demand destruction in some gas, LPG, where the market is clearing, but we have to move higher. But of course, we see there are various initiatives to push more oil into the global market. We had the strategic reserves. We saw that Scott Bessent just said that he got unsanctioned Iranian oil, basically making the Iranian oil at sea, which is probably maybe 50, 100 million barrels available for buyers. So they will not be sanctioned if they buy Iranian oil. That oil used to go to China. It could also give some leeway for the market, but it still doesn't cure the underlying illness, which is that the Strait of Hormuz is closed, that oil installation, energy installations are now being attacked across the Persian Gulf. So I'm concerned that we are moving higher, both in oil, the refined products like diesel, jet fuel, but also for LNG, the liquefied natural gas.
Right. Mr. Rasmussen, you brought up Strait of Hormuz. I have to ask you this. There were reports that Iran is now mulling over the idea of imposing tax and toll on ships to allow them a safe passage through the strait. If you think, that bill is passed indeed through Iran's parliament, what impact are we looking at then on the global supplies of oil and crude?
First of all, I think we have seen a few ships going through, a few vessels, but they go very close to the, as far as I understand, to the Iranian coastline. And there are some concerns that does this actually reflect that the rest of the strait is mined. We don't know, very few people know if it is mined or not. It's about taxing passage. It's of course something that I think they have introduced to put more pressure on the system. And I could imagine that they would tax Western companies more than sort of friendly countries. But of course, it's a small opening that we may see more oil passing through the strait. But I think as long as we have outright fighting, the number of vessels going through will be very small. And I see no indication today, for example, that there's any uptick in the number of vessels going through.
Right. Mr. Rasmussen, the war will eventually come to an end, maybe within a week, 15 days, or even a month. So right now what it looks like. But I want to ask you, in terms of recovery from the kind of price rise we have seen, the kind of disruptions that have come in oil supplies, what is the recovery period you would estimate according to your expertise?
I think in the LNG, that is where I'm most concerned about the recovery phase. We don't know, but the attack yesterday was certainly a significant concern. We may be talking about months there, and I even mentioned that it could be the rest of the year. There's a lot of demand, especially from Europe over the summer, to refill inventories. So there will be this competition between Asia and Europe for the LNG. So that's going to be the last, I think, to sort of normalize. Crude oil, I guess, could probably relatively fast normalize, and then we have the refined products like diesel, jet fuel, gasoline. I'm especially still concerned that it will take a significant amount of time before jet fuel and gas oil are normalized. There we are probably talking also 2 or 3 months after a potential ceasefire and a potential reopening of the strait. And I also think the strait reopening will take some time because you have to make sure that it is secure. You have to make sure there's no mines, and there will simply be a bottleneck in the whole system that you have to get tankers in and out of the strait. So these things takes time, but eventually, of course, they will settle. But we are talking months here after end of the war. And hopefully you're right that the war will end in a few weeks.
Right, Mr. Rasmussen, we hope the same, that we do see an early end to this conflict. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on Republic and sharing your crucial inputs on these developments. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now, viewers, let's also show you the spike, in fact, that is coming into Brent crude price ever since the war began. It started with about $73 per barrel. This was on February 28th when Israel and the US launched the preemptive strikes against Iran. And we have seen an upward trajectory ever since, and now clocking at about $115 per barrel as we are on day 28 of the war in West Asia. And now, viewers, new developments are coming to light. They have emerged in the NIA probe regarding the foreign mercenaries present in India. Now, drone warfare training, cross-border networks, and even sleeper cell links have come to light. And now, sources say it was a Russian intelligence input that helped track and then arrest an American national and 6 Ukrainians. Now, all accused of training armed groups are back in Myanmar and also with possible spillover into India's northeast. Now, on these allegations, Ukraine has also hit back, saying that these are politically motivated allegations against its nationals. We'll get you all the details in this report. Take a look. 7 foreign nationals, 6 Ukrainians and 1 American, Matthew Van Dyke, now in NIA custody till March 27th. Investigation now becoming murkier regarding mercenaries' role in destabilization India plot. Sources reveal it was a Russian intelligence input that triggered the crackdown. The input flagged a foreign network training anti-government armed groups in Myanmar. The input pointed to drone warfare training, including assembly, operation, and even jamming techniques, equipment routed through India, raising serious national security concerns.
A key input from Russian intelligence helped in the arrest of 7 foreign nationals. 7 foreign nationals, including 6 Ukrainians and 1 US citizen. The Russian intelligence flagged off that a group of foreign nationals were giving military training to the armed group, which are usually ethnic armed group, which are usually found in the border of India and Myanmar. Apart from this, they were also giving drone warfare training, from assembly to operations to also jamming them, so the whole entire package.
And now the spotlight is back on Manipur, a region that has seen years of ethnic violence, hundreds dead, thousands displaced. The probe has now expanded. NIA is looking at sleeper cells in border areas and the role of local contacts in Manipur and Mizoram. Sources say the foreign mercenaries were in touch with local networks and had even traveled to Andhra Pradesh.
The foreign mercenaries who went to Myanmar via Northeast didn't just travel.
Constitute its leadership and launch large-scale attacks against the homeland. Strict U.S. border enforcement measures and increased deportations of individuals with suspected links to Islamist terrorists have reduced access to the homeland and removed some potential sources of future terror attacks. Since January, U.S. officials have only had a handful of encounters at our borders with individuals associated with terrorist groups. This is a positive trend. However, our interagency coordinated efforts to identify, locate, and remove known or suspected terrorists who are already in the U.S. continues with vigilance. In 2025, there were at least 3 Islamist terrorist attacks in the U.S. Law enforcement disrupted at least 15 U.S.-based Islamist terrorist plotters. Roughly half of last year's disrupted plotters had some online contact with Islamist terrorists inspired by Islamist foreign terrorist organizations abroad. Al-Qaeda and ISIS pose the biggest threat to U.S. interests overseas in parts of Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia, where these groups operate. In the Middle East, AQAP in Yemen, ISIS-K in South Asia, and ISIS in Syria are among the most likely groups conducting external plotting. ISIS in Syria specifically is likely seeking to rebuild its ranks, expand support networks, and solicit funds by re-engaging with and recruiting from the likely hundreds of ISIS detainees and thousands of ISIS-linked women and children who escaped or were released from prisons and displaced persons camps. Meanwhile, state actors present a risk broader in scope by seeking new capabilities in kinetic and cyber warfare. The U.S. secure nuclear deterrent continues to ensure safety in the homeland against strategic threats. However, the IC assesses that Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and Pakistan have been researching and developing an array of novel, advanced, or traditional missile delivery systems with nuclear and conventional payloads that put our homeland within range. The IC assesses that threats to the homeland will expand collectively to more than 16,000 missiles by 2035, from the current assessed figure of more than 3,000 missiles. The IC assesses that China and Russia are developing advanced delivery systems meant to be capable of penetrating or bypassing U.S. missile defenses. North Korea's ICBMs can already reach U.S. soil. The IC assesses that it is committed to expanding its nuclear arsenal. Pakistan's long-range ballistic missile development potentially could include ICBMs with a range capable of striking the homeland. The IC assesses that Iran has previously demonstrated space launch and other technology it could use to begin to develop a militarily viable ICBM before 2035, should Tehran attempt to pursue the capability. However, these assessments will be observed and updated as the full impact of Operation Epic Fury's devastating strikes on Iran's missile production facilities, stockpiles, and launch capabilities is determined. Shifting to the cyber domain, the IC assesses that China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and non-state ransomware groups will continue to seek to compromise U.S. government and private sector networks, as well as critical infrastructure, to collect intelligence and create options for future disruption and for financial gain. The IC assesses China and Russia present the most persistent and active threats and are continuing R&D efforts. North Korea's cyber program is sophisticated and agile. In 2025 alone, North Korea's cryptocurrency heist probably stole $2 billion, which is helping to fund the regime, including further development of its strategic weapons program. Financially or ideologically motivated non-state actors are becoming more bold, with ransomware groups shifting to faster, high-volume attacks that are harder to identify and mitigate. Innovation in the field of artificial intelligence will likely accelerate the threats in the cyber domain. They will increasingly shape cyber operations, with both cyber operators and defenders using these tools to improve their speed and effectiveness. For example, in August of 2025, cyber actors used an AI tool to conduct data extortion against international government, healthcare, and public health emergency service sectors and religious institutions. Shifting to the Arctic, the IC assesses that Russia, and to a lesser extent China, aim to strengthen their presence in the region through increased maritime trade, natural resource extraction, and military activity. Russia, which has the longest coastline in the Arctic, has long sought recognition of its quote-unquote polar great power status and is deploying more military forces and building new permanent infrastructure. China, though not an Arctic country, is engaged in more limited efforts in the region to advance its strategic and economic interests. On the technology front, artificial intelligence capabilities are rapidly advancing and changing the threat landscape. As this is a defining technology that enables computers and machines to simulate human learning, comprehension, problem-solving, creativity, and autonomy, it'll be critical to ensure that humans remain in control of how AI is used and of the machines that may threaten to autonomously violate the interests of the American people across all domains. The IC assesses that China is the most capable competitor in this field and aims to displace the U.S. as the global AI leader by 2030. AI adoption at scale across the spectrum of usage poses serious risks. AI has the potential to aid in weapons and systems design and has been used in recent conflicts to influence targeting and streamline decision-making, underscoring the risk and likely threats that could manifest on the battlefield. Early developers in quantum computers will give countries an extraordinary technological advantage over others to quickly process national security information and break current encryption methodology used to protect sensitive finance, healthcare, and government information. The global security landscape is volatile and complex, with armed conflict growing more common and posing potential threats against U.S. interests. The space domain is becoming increasingly contested, with China and Russia developing counter-space capabilities to challenge U.S. space efforts. The threat of nuclear proliferation and advancing chemical and biological warfare capabilities continues to grow. Turn now to the Western Hemisphere, where flagging economies, high crime rates, pervasive organized crime, migration flows, corruption, and narcotics trafficking present a broad spectrum of risks to U.S. interests, and where strategic competitors seek to gain greater influence in the region. The IC assesses that Latin America and the Caribbean almost certainly will see hotspots of volatility in the coming year, with the potential to undermine or distract from some countries from improving economies and living conditions and tackling illicit drug flows and cartels. The U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement review in 2026 will likely increase uncertainty in many Latin American countries, especially those that rely on Mexico as an export destination for intermediate goods for manufacture and onward export to the U.S. China, Russia, and Iran are seeking to sustain economic, political, and military engagement with Latin America. The IC assesses that China's demand for raw materials is likely to drive continued economic outreach, while Russia likely wants to expand its current security and diplomatic ties with Cuba and Nicaragua. The IC assesses that China aims to elevate its own political, economic, military, and technological power to increase its own regional positioning, global influence, and to fend off threats to their interests. While there are challenging areas where interests diverge, President Trump's diplomatic engagements with President Xi have enabled progress on areas where mutual interests align. The IC assesses that China continues to rapidly modernize its military forces across all domains in pursuit of its goal to achieve world-class status by mid-century. This includes building a force with the aim of being capable of deterring U.S. and allied forces in the region, and to achieve their stated objective of having the capability to seize Taiwan by force if necessary. However, the IC assesses that China likely prefers to set the conditions.
Anil Ambani being questioned by the CBI for 7 straight hours, 7-hour grilling by the CBI. Anil Ambani in the bank fraud case. Live visuals coming in first on Republic TV as we closely track this mega scam, this bank fraud case. Anil Ambani questioned for 7 hours. He's likely to be summoned tomorrow as well. What we are picking up to try and connect with a correspondent on ground to understand what has happened. And this is in the bank scam. Anil Ambani now moving out of the CBI office after questioning. He is questioned by the CBI in the 2,909 crore rupee fraud case, SBI bank loan case, fraud case. And he has been questioned by the CBI in this case. Anil Ambani expected to again appear tomorrow for questioning in connection with the scam. All right, Republic TV tried to confront Anil Ambani after his questioning concluded for the day. And Republic TV getting you these shots first on Republic TV. And Republic TV tried to confront Anil Ambani. No answers. Anil Ambani evading the cameras, evading the mic, evading the questions as he moves out of the CBI headquarters in the national capital. He's grilled for 7 hours in the bank fraud case. He reached the agency's headquarters in the morning and was examined in fact, today and tomorrow also. Shambhavi joining us on the phone line for more. Shambhavi, tell us more details. The 7-hour questioning for the day by the CBI has ended to Anil Ambani.
Well, exactly. Anil Ambani has been questioned for 7.5 hours by CBI regarding a bank loan fraud of hundreds and crores of rupees. And he's again summoned tomorrow, so he'll be questioned again for hours tomorrow. We tried to confront, we tried to ask questions from Anil Ambani, but he evaded. He was seen evading the camera. He was seen evading a mic. He was seen evading with joined hands. And again, this comes as a huge update that, again, he's been summoned again tomorrow and he will have to come and answer the CBI's questions regarding hundreds and hundreds of crores of taxpayers' money. And there are several allegations on Anil Ambani, be it diversion of money through fictitious transactions, be it cheating, be it criminal conspiracy. These are the main charges on which the CBI asked questions from Anil Ambani today and will continue to do so even tomorrow.
Right. This questioning has gone for 7 hours, I beg your pardon. And this happened after his son Jay Anmol was also questioned. So what are we expecting right now? What could be the course of action as far as this case is concerned, Shambhavi?
So again, not just his son, but his wife was also summoned, and there are several summons that has been issued against the entire Ambani family by ED as well, not just by CBI, but ED, and is being probed extensively on multiple matters by ED and CBI, both his son Anil Ambani and his wife Tina Ambani. They've evaded summons a lot of times as well when summoned by ED, but he was not able to protect himself from the summon today, and he had to appear, he had to answer questions. And as I mentioned, there are several allegations that CBI is accusing Anil Ambani and his associates of. One is cheating, the other is criminal conspiracy, and third is diversion of loan money through fictitious transactions. These are the three main charges that CBI is accusing Anil Ambani of.
You mentioned about the ED case as well. What we understand is that he has been summoned in connection with the money laundering probe under the PMLA, but he has not appeared before the ED yet.
Yes, he's been skipping summons, although he did appear before ED once. But then again, there is a rule that you can skip summons by ED 3 times before actually taking a legal course. So he appeared again and then he missed 2 other times. His wife was also summoned, Tina Ambani, but she also has missed twice the summons, although his son was questioned by CBI. So these are several matters on which the entire Anil Ambani family is being interrogated at the point. Republic tried to ask questions, Republic tried to interrogate and ask questions to Anil Ambani, but he was seen evading the camera with joined hands.
Yeah, we'll just play that out in a bit. In a few seconds from now, we'll play out that sequence when Republic TV questioned Anil Ambani. You can see the moment he exited from the headquarters, he folds his hand, but he refuses to speak. He keeps mum on the questions that have been put forth, have been put across to him with regards to this questioning. He's been questioned for 7 long hours. And as Shambhavi is pointing out, that he will be questioned tomorrow as well. Now, the CBI probe centers on the alleged diversion and misuse of loan funds extended by the CBI and a consortium of banks to Reliance Communications. Viewers, let's take a listen to this sequence that we've just recorded.
सर आप पर जो एलिगेशन है सर आप पर जो एलिगेशन है सर आप पर एलिगेशन है सर आप पर जो एलिगेशन है सर कुछ कहना है आपको सर आप पर एलिगेशन है बैंक छोड़ के सर आप पर जो एलिगेशन है सर आप पर एलिगेशन है सर आप पर जो एलिगेशन है सर कुछ कहना है आपको सर आप पर एलिगेशन है बैंक छोड़ के
Just tell us about this confrontation, Shambhavi, as we see that he had no answers as far as this questioning is concerned. If you could just tell us any information that you picked up on the grounds he was questioned on.
See, the main grounds that he was questioned on was cheating, criminal conspiracy and transfer of loan funds, diversion of loan funds through fictitious transactions. And also the agency has conducted searches at his residence before, at his office before, and has secured key documents from there. So those could also possibly be the grounds on which he would have been questioned. Apart from that, and this is in regards to hundreds and crores of money, let me tell our viewers, hundreds and crores of money that have been diverted through fictitious transactions, through shell companies and through other routes which are illegal, where he and his family and his associates have been allegedly involved and is being probed by not just CBI but by ED as well. Several summons has been issued since 2025. This is now this is not fresh. This has been going on since 2025, and it seems like today Anil Ambani, although evaded our questions, he could not evade CBI's question. He was probed. He was questioned for 7.5 long hours, and will have to come back tomorrow again to be questioned.
All right. Thank you so much, Shama, for joining us with details coming in on that story that Republic TV is closely following. In the meantime, viewers, we have breaking news coming in. It's a big technical snag that has been reported as far as Air India flight is concerned. And this is Air India B777, Boeing 777-300 suffering a technical snag. And just trying to get you all more details on that story. This is a flight that was diverted to Medina. It has suffered a technical snag, and this is we'll try and understand what really had happened. Okay, so the flight is still airborne. 19th of March, this is today's incident. Air India B777-300 operating flight AI-116 sector New York to Bombay. This is a flight New York to Bombay, New York to Mumbai. The aircraft diverted to Medina owing to AFT cargo fire warning. The fire bottle also discharged. And further details are awaited in this matter. So this is a big technical snag. There was a fire warning that was put out there on the flight. The flight is still airborne. And my colleague Harsha joins us on the broadcast for more. Harsha, there was a fire warning, AFT fire warning. What does it mean, and how big of a snag is this?
Yes, you rightly pointed out, this is a very serious and very dangerous issue, where a cargo was seen. There was a fire alert in the cargo of the Air India AI-116 Boeing 777-300, which has been diverted to Medina. The more worrisome issue is it has been diverted in the war situation, when the so many airstreams have been asked by the airlines not to pass through, and it was clearly stated that this is a very serious and very dangerous situation. The DGCA prelim report has been shared immediately, but Rakshita, this is a very serious situation because the fire extinguisher bottle was discharged from the cargo. It was following a safety procedure by the pilot in command, because at that particular time it was very important that any untoward incident doesn't happen. Whether it was just an alert from the cargo or whether actually there was some fire erupting from the cargo, that is more to be known from the side of Air India. What has been told to us is that the flight is still airborne. It is still airborne. That means it is still dangerous, and it will be landing at the Medina airport. And after that, the necessary checks will be done of this particular aircraft of Air India AI-116, which was bound to go to Mumbai from New York, which took off today only from New York. It was supposed to land in Mumbai late in the evening, but it was diverted to Medina. Very dangerous and serious situation. We have approached Air India for a statement on this particular tech snag, because it's a very worrisome tech snag, that how can there be a fire or smoke alert in the cargo. That AFT, really it has caught a cargo fire, because immediately when there was a fire signal, the pilot says that there's something dangerous, and therefore immediately the fire bottle was discharged from the cargo following a safety procedure, also to give an alert to the ATC in the Medina and the ARC in Delhi as well. Now we have to look into the for the investigation will take place.
Right. Many thanks, Harsha, for joining us with those details on the story. Meanwhile, we'll continue to get you more breaking news, viewers, on this bulletin, but time for a very, very short break. Don't go anywhere.
सफल बनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा,
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. You know, the price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem. We are all going to suffer. So we all have to work to make sure it ends soon. And I hope that, led by our Prime Minister, etc., we will work on that.
ठीक है मंटू, भेज दे रहा है। ठीक है ना, भेज रहा मंटू। अरे अनुसार नहीं होगा। तुम तो कमाल किया तो नीचे। अब तुम गाड़ी ले पूर्ण वाला, चलो वो तेरा गाड़ी मार रहा है। ठीक है ना, हम बात करेंगे। क्या हुआ? ठीक है ना, भैया बोलेंगे गाड़ी जा ही रहा है।
Breaking news coming in right now. Now, amid the war, Russian journalist Steve Sweeney and his camera person have been injured in southern Lebanon after a strike hit near them while they were reporting. Both are conscious and they're receiving treatment for the shrapnel wounds. But we'll just play out that video. Russian journalists injured. They've been wounded in the strikes in Lebanon as they were reporting on the war. And we've seen how Israel has been conducting incessant strikes in Lebanon. Here's the video. Okay, to see.
Along the border, including the Al-Marj outpost opposite Merkaba, and carried out drone strikes on the Al-Raheb site near Aitar al-Shab. Further rocket attacks were reported against Nahariya and a Fucking hell.
It's a dramatic footage, and it could have been really fatal. He was just few meters away, as we can see. He was just few meters away from that strike point, that target that has been hit in southern Lebanon, that continues to be pounded by Israel via its airstrikes. You can just understand what a moment of terror it would have been for the reporter, but he bravely has been reporting from the war zone, and the shrapnels, of course, flying across has hit him and the camera person. All right, viewers, we have some more updates coming in. Meanwhile, we will be stepping into a very short break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with our special coverage on the war.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा,
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates. IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
प्यास बुझाए, ठंडक लाए, सबको भाई जीरा सिम, MTH का जलजीरा जीरा सिम।
जीरा सिर्फ असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. You know, the price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem. We're all going to suffer. So we all have to work to make sure it ends soon. And I hope that, led by our Prime Minister, etc., we will work on that.
ठीक है मंटू भेज दे रहा है। ठीक है ना भेज रहा मंटू। नहीं तो तुम तो करेगा। अरे अनुसरी होगा। हो गया। तुम तो कमाल किया तो नीचे। अब तुम गाड़ी ले पूर्ण वाला। चलो वो तेरा गाड़ी मारवा।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता, उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ।
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है, सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े। चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा।
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. You know, the price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem. We're all going to suffer. So we all have to work to make sure it ends soon. And I hope that, led by our Prime Minister, etc., we will work on that.
ठीक है मंटू भेज दे रहा है। ठीक है ना भेज रहा मंटू। नहीं तो तुम तो करेगा। अरे अनुसरी होगा। हो गया। तुम तो कमाल किया तो नीचे। अजून गाडी पूर्ण होला त्याला कुठे गाडी मागवा
American mercenary, a CIA agent, Ukraine versus Russia fight breaks out. American deep state at work in India, debating tonight at 8 p.m.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates. IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. You know, the price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem. We're all going to suffer. So we all have to work to make sure it ends soon. And I hope that led by our Prime Minister, we will work on that.
ठीक है मंडू भेज दे रहा है ठीक है ना भेज रहा मंडू नहीं तो फिर तो करा अरे अनुसरी होगा तुम तो कमाल गिरा दो नीचे अजून गाडी पूर्ण होला त्याला कुठे गाडी मागवा चला हो ठीक है ना हम बात करेंगे क्या हुआ ठीक है ना भैया बोलेंगे गाड़ी जा ही रहा है कौन बोलता गाड़ी नहीं जा रहा है गाड़ी तो चारों निकला हुआ है आप बता लोग ये FFCCS मतलब फाउंड्री फॉर कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी।
वहाँ लिखा हुआ है भैया।
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Republic TV. I'm Gesu Bharadwaj, also being joined by my colleague Rakshita Mishra on the broadcast. And we're going to be talking about what's happening in West Asia as tensions continue to escalate, and also the fact that 22 Indian vessels continue to remain stuck in the Strait of Hormuz.
Right, Gesu, the impact of this war is immense, and it only continues to widen. Republic TV will be getting you each and every angle. But first, a quick check of the headlines.
The world, the Middle East, our ungrateful allies in Europe, even segments of our own press should be saying one thing to President Trump. Thank you.
U.S. Defense Secretary addresses the media as war against Iran rages on in its third week. He terms the U.S. European allies as ungrateful.
Tehran releases new video showcasing the launch of the 64th wave of the Operation True Promise 4 against Israel.
Ukraine issues statement on NIA arrest of foreign mercenaries, denies charges, calls it politically motivated.
According to sources, a Russian intelligence input played a key role in the arrest of a U.S. mercenary Van Dyke and 6 Ukrainian citizens by the NIA.
U.S. intel report claims Pakistan is developing missiles with nuclear payload and that Pakistan advanced missiles threaten the United States.
The tit-for-tat attacks on gas facilities lead to surge in oil prices. Brent crude over $112 per barrel.
Viewers, we start with big breaking news coming in. It's a big technical snag that has been reported on an Air India flight. This is the B777-300 aircraft, VT-AER, operating flight AI-116 from New York to Bombay, New York to Mumbai. The aircraft diverted to Medina owing to the AFT cargo fire warning. There wasn't a warning, the alarm that went on. And then the fire bottle has also been discharged. It's a big technical snag. It's a safety scare, rather. We're trying to get more details as we connect to our correspondent. But this is an international flight we are talking about of Air India. And this could have been very, very dangerous. Air India flight. This is New York to Mumbai, and it has been diverted to Medina. Okay, Harsha joining us live on the broadcast. For more, Harsha, tell us more details about this flight. We understand that this is an airborne flight. How long, or has it already landed? What has been gathered till now?
So, Rakshita, while I'm talking to you right now, the flight has now, which was diverted to Medina, has landed at Medina Airport just few minutes back. There's an update we have got through Flight Radar and after speaking to Air India sources as well. And this was a very huge technical issue, which can't be ignored at all, because a very dangerous situation, because it was airborne. The flight was airborne. It was AI-116. It was JFK to Mumbai bound. It was supposed to land in Mumbai airport at around 9:30 to 10 p.m. this late evening. But before that only, there was a technical snag. There was a smoke alert warning from the AFT, from the cargo of the airline. And immediately the pilot in command sensed that it is something dangerous, and the plane could not be taken to Mumbai, which was its original destination. And immediately the ATC informed, the pilot in command informed the ATC, and the ATC only looked that there is an airspace issue also which is going right now, and Air India has also already been told that there's an airspace which is because of the war situation. Therefore, it's a very risky situation, and therefore it has immediately been diverted to Medina, not to say, because after sensing that any untoward incident could have taken place. What pilot in command did was very intellect and smart on his side. As soon as he sensed the cargo smoke warning, fire warning from the cargo of the aircraft, immediately fire bottles were discharged by him as a safety measure, as a precautionary measure to ensure that passengers are safe. The fire bottles are discharged, keeping in mind that the fire extinguisher agents are discharged at that time. These are the halogen gas shot. These are the helium gas shot. For all our viewers, it gives the fire warning alert also and ensures that till the time it reaches its destination, the cargo is equipped enough and can be taken to the diverted location. That was a precautionary measure which was taken by pilot in command immediately, because certainly if the flight was airborne and if the pilot in command that time would have tried making it to reach to Mumbai, at that time any untoward incident could have taken place. There could have been an intense fire which could have erupted from the cargo of the plane. But to avoid that situation, only it was diverted to Medina. The entire prelim report has been shared with the DGCA regulatory body by Air India. But Air India till now has not issued any statement to Republic. We have spoken to the COPCOM, we have spoken to Air India. Our top sources state that this is the confirmed news, and it was shown in the flight radar also that this particular plane was diverted to Medina. It is a dangerous situation because of the war situation as well. There are several airspaces which is right now banned and has been stated heavy risk places, heavy risk airspace today only by the DGCA. Precautionary warning was also given to all the airlines to avoid such airspace movement. But in that situation only, the diversion which has happened, the diversion which has happened raises lot of safety alarms as in what could have gone wrong in the cargo or whether maintenance was not done by the Air India well. Back to you.
Right, Harsha. In fact, also speak to us about the fact that this is not a one-off incident. In fact, just on the 16th, a few days ago, another Delhi-bound Air India flight met with a similar fate. It had to make an emergency landing in Ireland over technical snags. Now, we already know that 5 years and the refurbishing work happens. Everything that is wrong with any flight operations is readdressed. But why is Air India falling short again and again? And is their apology going to make up for each incident that keeps happening so frequently now? Harsha.
So now what we see is that it has been a pattern by Air India and the regulatory body as well. Now regulatory body is not very much concerned about the seriousness of the incident, which has been reported continuously by Republic TV as well. Continuously we are reporting how this is a technical snag, huge technical snag. In a layman language, they keep on saying that this is an aviation industry. Such incidents keep happening, but one can't overlook that how this a small incident could lead to a very untoward incident, which we have seen in the case of AI-171 Ahmedabad plane crash. At that time, there was a fuel control switch issue, and this time it was a fire alarm issue. It was a fire alarm issue coming from the cargo. It's a very dangerous situation. Imagine if a fire alarm continues to give alert and warning to the pilot in command in the cockpit. That means after 10 minutes, if not controlled, if the situation is not controlled and any measures is not taken, then there could be immense fire in the engine of the aircraft as well. And when the engine is on fire, the entire plane could crash. So that's the seriousness of the issue. And Air India, mostly with their Boeing aircraft, what we have seen is that Boeing 787, Boeing 777, Boeing 737, all these aircraft of Boeing, which is told that they're highly skilled aircraft, but back to back the technical snags keep on appearing and occurring in the Boeing aircraft's journey. This is also
Harsha.
the Boeing aircraft. Morning we reported that was also a Boeing aircraft. Back to back, the mechanically skilled aircraft Boeing fails to ensure the passenger safety. That's the voice we are raising here at Republic, which DGCA can't ignore. Back to you.
Right. We're also being joined by President of Federation of Indian Pilots, Captain C.S. Randhawa on the broadcast. Very good evening to you, sir. But this is a great cause of concern. The fact that even the fire bottle was discharged. How would you explain this snag and how serious is this?
You see, any cargo fire which takes place in the front cargo or the aft cargo, now you have certain amount of fire bottles which can be discharged once the warning comes into the cockpit. Now, the fire warning, when it comes to the cargo and it is uncontrolled, then the situation is land as soon as possible. Now, the cargo fire per se cannot cause engine fire. So the fire, once it could be, there could be two types. One is an actual fire which could take place, and the second would be a false warning which will come. Now, sometimes it has been seen, especially in the mango season when the flights are going outbound from India. And once or twice it did happen on the 747 aircraft, and on a couple of occasions the fire warning light came on because of the main concern was mangoes. But in this case now, we do not know what was the cargo which was loaded from New York for Mumbai. Now, it is a serious concern. Now, if the fire warning is actual or not, the pilot does not know in the cockpit. When the warning comes, then he has to take appropriate actions. Now, in this case, he is elected to divert to Medina, which could be the nearest airfield. And I suppose the aircraft is still not landed. Now, as far as the seriousness is concerned, Air India has been constantly having a lot of snags, and it has come to light even by the DGCA, where they had flagged this issue last year, the number of snags which are there on the Air India aircraft. Now, though I'm not saying that the emergency cannot take place on any aircraft, it can take place, but definitely the maintenance of Air India aircraft needs to be more vigilant, and they've got to carry out proper maintenance procedures, which they would be doing. So at the time of release, the aircraft is serviceable. But later on, what happens is that if there is a malfunction in any component or there is, in this case, this was a fire warning. So it could lead to a very serious situation. Like cargo fire, if uncontrolled, then it can even, lead to a crash because the aircraft will burn off before it lands. So it is
Right,
serious, but I still say that there are two types of fire warnings. One is actual and one could be false.
Right,
So if the aircraft is still in the air, it could be a false warning. And Air India needs to thoroughly investigate, and DGCA will also come into the picture because this is going to be investigated.
Definitely. And borrowing from your point of, thorough investigation that Air India is supposed to do, we also know that Air India uses both carriers, Airbus as well as Boeing. And we've seen these untoward incidents occur in Boeing flights specifically that are with Air India. So is this just a maintenance lag from Air India's end, or is it a larger problem of still continuing procurement from Boeing, which has come under scanner time and again? And what is the way out in case Boeing has to be held accountable for this, sir?
As far as the Boeing 777 is concerned, it's a very safe aircraft and proven all around the world. I would say that this is one of the best machines after 737, NG aircraft. This has been the most successful machine manufactured by Boeing. As I said, that on any aircraft, whether it's an Airbus 350 or a 787 or a 777 aircraft, any aircraft which is flying, like even on the roads, if you see a brand new car can have snags. Similarly, aircraft can have snags. But the problem is that more of Air India flights are having snags, and they are coming out with malfunctions. Now, that is a little serious because they need to thoroughly investigate. Now, it has to be seen whether the aircraft are going on the MEL and what is the MEL release. And if the snags were persistent, that means they have to have a serious look at those snags which are repetitive in nature. So this one introspection Air India needs to carry out, because the number of snags which are occurring and the failures which are occurring on the Air India aircraft are increasing day by day. So they need to keep a check on this. Definitely, it is not a Boeing problem, but I feel it is Air India needs to be more vigilant in their maintenance procedures and checks.
Right, many thanks, Mr. Captain Randhawa, for joining us with your reading of the situation. Right now, viewers, we shift our focus now to the war zone, showing you those powerful images that actually make you understand the impact of this war, the scale of the war. And war reporting, of course, is something that you can really see the dangers, the risks that come in with it. RT correspondent Steve Sweeney, along with his camera person, were injured after a strike in southern Lebanon. We're going to play out that visuals, what really followed, how a shrapnel wounded the group.
Along the border, including the Al-Marj outpost opposite Merkaba, and carried out drone strikes on the Al-Raheb site near Aitar al-Shab. Further rocket attacks were reported against Nahariya and admitted. Along the border, including the Al-Marj outpost opposite Merkaba, and carried out drone strikes on the Al-Raheb site near Aitar al-Shab. Further rocket attacks were reported against Nahariya and admitted. Along the border, including the Al-Marj outpost opposite Merkaba, and carried out drone strikes on the Al-Raheb site near Aitar al-Shab. Further rocket attacks were reported against Nahariya and admitted.
Viewers, since the first day of this war, Republic has been asking a pertinent question. Who is this war for? What is it going to achieve? Now, in fact, today, Republic continues to ask the pertinent question, and that's because another gas field in Iran has been struck. The world's largest gas field came under attack from the Israeli forces. Now, in fact, US President Donald Trump says that he was not even briefed or informed about the attack. Neither was his permission taken. However, reports suggest otherwise, but he has now publicly condemned Israel. Now remember, Iran continues to reel under an already broiling shortage of gas, LPG, LNG, and at that time comes another strike on their South Pars facility, the largest gas field in the country and also the world. Take a look at this.
South Pars gas field, world's largest known gas field, was struck by Israel in the latest wave of strikes. This was a major escalation in the West Asia war. Why? Because this gas field in the Persian Gulf covers about 9,700 square kilometers and holds about 51 trillion cubic meters of gas, supplying 2/3 or more of Iran's gas supply. South Pars is shared between both Iran and Qatar. Iranian South Pars makes up about 1/3 of it, while the rest of Qatari side, also called North Field. If the attacks on South Pars escalate, it will cause massive gas and electricity shortage in Iran. After the attacks on South Pars, Iran launched retaliatory attacks, used ballistic missiles to struck Qatar's gas production facility of Ras Laffan. After the strikes, Donald Trump has put out a detailed statement. Trump claims he knew nothing about South Pars attack by Israel. He claims even Qatar had no idea that South Pars attack was going to happen. Trump gives assurances. He says no more attacks will be made by Israel. Trump also issued a stern warning to Iran, saying if Iran continues with unfair attacks on Qatar's LNG gas facility, Trump will blow up South Pars gas field. This warning by Trump comes as already oil facilities are being struck across the Gulf region, facilities that feed the economy of these Gulf countries.
That's the world's largest gas field. It puts 20% of world's LNG supply also at risk. So we're showing you that video, viewers, that is coming in from South Pars, how Israel struck the gas field and triggered fires, disrupted energy production, and we saw how the prices went up. The oil prices also went up. The gas prices, of course, the gas crisis that is only escalating. This is a visual from the war zone Asuleh in Iran. And this is, again, a testament to the fact that how this gas field has been attacked, the impact of that strike, which now Trump says he had no knowledge of.
Viewers, this second visual that we're tracking for you comes from a Hamas base inside Gaza Strip. Now, the Israeli Defense Forces, while fighting Iran and its proxy allies, is also waging a war against Hamas. The IDF and Shin Bet operations have reportedly eliminated military intelligence commanders of the Khan Yunis brigade belonging to the Hamas leadership. That's the latest that we're getting in, and this comes straight from the Gaza Strip.
And shifting focus to now Lebanon, where Israeli forces say they have eliminated 20 of the Hezbollah operatives during their operations in southern Lebanon as they escalate the attacks against the Hezbollah. The IDF has been preparing to deploy even more forces in southern Lebanon, and they further are expanding the buffer zone to push away what they say the threat of the Hezbollah from the border. This is a video that has been released by the Israeli Defense Forces.
Viewers, the next visual shows you the impact that's been ongoing on air facilities inside Iran. Now, Iranian Air Force has taken a hit again. This is a visual that comes in from the Sanandaj airport, where a Mi-17 helicopter, an Mi-17, has been reduced to complete rubble over Israeli Defense Forces that struck the Mi-17, reducing Iranian Air Force capabilities.
And clearly, we can see the impact of all this is spread wide across the globe. The gas prices have jumped to new highs, and oil prices have risen once again because of its escalation that is being witnessed between Iran and Israel. The gas field attacks have heightened fears of prolonged disruption to international energy supplies. Brent crude rose by 8% per barrel today. Crude prices have soared by 60% since the US-Israel war on Iran that started on the 28th of February. Been more than 3 weeks now. European gas prices have now jumped more than 30% after Iranian strikes on Ras Laffan, Qatar's largest LNG plant, reaching their highest level since the war began. Only time, and in fact, de-escalation's time will tell when these prices will normalize. Take a look at this report.
While Iran and Israel target oil facilities, the common man is caught in the crossfire. Since the war began on the 28th of February, the oil prices have been continuously rising and show no signs of sliding down. While the US claims that the oil prices will come down after the war ends.
If we have a little high oil prices for a little while, but as soon as this ends, those prices are going to drop, I believe, lower than even before.
This, even as European gas prices also surged nearly 30%. Meanwhile, Iran issued a warning that oil facilities will be struck across the Middle East. The warning comes after Israel struck the world's largest natural gas field in Iran. Following the attack inside Iran, Tehran targeted the Mina al-Ahmadi oil refinery in Kuwait. A fire broke out after a drone hit the operational unit of the refinery. A meeting of foreign ministers from Arab and Islamic countries took place in Riyadh on Thursday to discuss regional security amid Iranian attacks on Gulf states. Previously during the war, Iran had targeted oil reserves across the Middle East. From striking Aramco, which is managing the world's largest hydrocarbon reserves, to Bapco in Bahrain, which produces 400,000 barrels a day. Not only this, many tankers were also targeted in the Strait of Hormuz, creating a stressful environment for sailors. The war isn't only targeting civilians and top leaders, but also the pockets of the common man.
Viewers, that's all that we could wrap in this special edition of The War So Far. But don't go anywhere. Right on the other side at 7:30, we will get you the details of the American deep state at work in India.
Absolutely, and that's going to be the 8 p.m. debate with Arnab Goswami also on the channel. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this very short break.
बात। वाओ मम्मा क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा।
मेरी चिमनी टूट जाएगी। What are you doing?
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा से। MDH का जलजीरा जीरा से।
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MDH।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट।
स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है। स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और बरसान। अरे चंकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी, एवरीडे।
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. You know, the price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem. We are all going to suffer. So we all have to work to make sure it ends soon. And I hope that, led by our Prime Minister, we will work on that.
ठीक है मंटू, भेज दे रहा है। ठीक है ना, भेज रहा मंटू। अरे आलू से नहीं होगा। तुमचा कुणाल केला तो नीचे अजून गाडीला पूर्ण होला माझा गोटे का गाडी माकळा।
Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. रहो बेफिक्र।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो, मिलाओ और खाओ।
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates. IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े। चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मम्मा क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा।
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. You know, the price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem. We are all going to suffer. So we all have to work to make sure it ends soon. And I hope that, led by our Prime Minister, we will work on that.
ठीक है मंटू, भेज दे रहा है। ठीक है ना, भेज रहा मंटू। अरे आलू से नहीं होगा। तुमचा कुणाल केला तो नीचे अजून गाडीला पूर्ण होला माझा गोटे का गाडी माकळा।
Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा से MDH का जलजीरा जीरा से
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MDH
Very good evening, viewers. You're watching Republic TV special coverage on the conspiracy that was being plotted on Indian soil as well. Is the American deep state behind the mercenaries who have been arrested by the NIA? 6 Ukrainians, one US citizen. Is there more to the story? We'll tell you. My colleague Gesu joins us on the studio.
In fact, also the fact that there has been a clear link that has now emerged between the US citizen Matthew Aaron Van Dyke and the US State Department. We're getting you all the details on that. But first, here's a check on the headlines that we're tracking for this. Take a look. US Defense Secretary addresses the media as war against Iran rages on its 3rd week. He terms the US's European allies as ungrateful. Tehran releases new video showcasing the launch of the 64th wave of the Operation True Promise 4 against Israel.
Ukraine issues statement on NIA. Arrest of foreign mercenaries, denies charges, calls it politically motivated.
According to sources, a Russian intelligence input played a key role in the arrest of a US mercenary Van Dyke and 6 Ukrainian citizens by the NIA.
US intel report claims Pakistan is developing missiles with nuclear payload and that Pak advanced missiles could threaten the US.
The tit-for-tat attacks on gas facilities lead to surge in oil prices. Brent crude over $112 per barrel.
So we start with the latest development in this case, viewers. Breaking news coming in suggests that there is a clear link that is visible here between the US State Department and Van Dyke, the American mercenary who has been arrested. Now, the State Department, Gesu, had rescued Van Dyke in Iraq, and after he was arrested in Iraq, he received the US State Department help.
Now, Van Dyke also appeared for a CIA interview back in 2004. Now, that's the latest that we're getting in. A clear link that has now come forward between the US State Department and Matthew Aaron Van Dyke, the one US citizen who has been nabbed by NIA under UAPA, the Prevention of Unlawful Activities Act, specifically Section 18. Non-bailable and in fact over the grounds of conspiring a terror plot in India. Now remember, he has appeared for a CIA interview in 2004 and was also rescued by the State Department, US State Department, from Iraq.
Right. In fact, Iran had even labeled Van Dyke as Jewish spies Post-Iranian report, State Department had asked Van Dijk to even leave Iraq. He has been in foreign prisons. In 2009, arrested in Iraq. 2010, arrested in Afghanistan. In the Afghanistan intervention and U.S. military. It was U.S. military who had secured his release. In fact, our correspondents on ground are joining us on the broadcast. Lin Thoy and Shambhavi are joining us on the broadcast for more. In fact, Lin Thoy, I'll just go across to you. Now, clearly, Lin Thoy, we can see that there is the American deep state at play. With this case, we find that there is a clear link that has been established if one goes into the history of this man called Van Dijk.
Yes, Rakshita. NI has arrested 7 foreign nationals, including American Matthew Van Dijk and 6 Ukrainians. So with provisions suspecting links to training of armed ethnic groups across the Myanmar border. The NIA has now widened its investigation, looking into sleeper cells in Manipur and Mizoram and the role of local support networks. So according to inputs suggest these operatives in touch with local context and had even traveled beyond the northeast, including Andhra Pradesh, indicating a possible larger pan-India network. The case is now pointing towards international linkage and a deeper conspiracy that could pose a serious threat to national security, with concerns also emerging about potential shift towards tech-driven warfare in the region. So targeting the North is not just a regional concern, it's a direct challenge to India's national security too. The region shares a sensitive international border with countries like Myanmar, making it strategically crucial in terms of both security and connectivity. Any attempt to destabilize Manipur or Mizoram through foreign links, local networks, or emerging threats like drone warfare is essentially an attempt to exploit these vulnerabilities. So the Northeast acts as India's gateway to Southeast Asia, and any disruption here can have far-reaching implications on internal stability, border management, and national integrity too. So simply put, undermining security in the Northeast is equivalent to undermining the security architecture of the entire region. Back to you, Rakshita.
Right, Lin Thoy, thanks for getting us those details. In fact, quickly coming to you, Shambhavi, who continues to join us from the national capital. Now, Shambhavi, you have been tracking the story for far too long. Just yesterday, Sergio Gore was, meeting NSA, the Oval, and they had a fruitful meeting, is what they said. But today, clear links between the U.S. State Department and the U.S. mercenary Matthew Aaron Van Dijk, who's been arrested. In fact, after the U.S. State Department took cognizance of his arrest. What does this mean going forward? Shambhavi.
It definitely means that there are two sides to the story. This is a very huge breaking news that a new link has been developed in terms of this U.S. connection, U.S. Department connection. The fact that is also there for a CIA interview in 2004 shows that this is not just something very superficial. We are waiting for some kind of statement, for some kind of response from the U.S. Department. But the link itself, I think, speaks a lot in this matter. And Van Dijk, especially in terms of Van Dijk, even the Sons of Liberty has responded today saying that they are constantly in touch with the legal team. They're in touch with the NIA, and they're also in touch with the U.S. Department. They said that the U.S. Department knows about Van Dijk's arrest. So there's definitely a lot is going on. A very clear link has been established in this. New information of Van Dijk's history, apart from Sons of Liberty, apart from him claiming to be a security analyst, a security research analyst. And we can just wonder in what ways was he using his information? Was he using his links? Was he using his so-called security expertise in this matter? Back to you.
Right, Shambhavi. I'll just go across to Sahil now. Sahil, well, we've seen, Sarthak, I beg your pardon, we have seen that there has been violence in Manipur for a long time, and now there is a foreign hand that is being pointed towards. And the timing of this discovery, or what we understand, this probe is also very, very ripe. Now that we understand there was training going on, drone training is going on, not just the American, but also Ukrainians have been involved. If you could just shed some light on the responses, the statements that have come in from US and Ukraine.
Yes, so far NIA has arrested 7 individuals. One is an American, and there are 6 Ukrainians who have been taken into custody by NIA. And the Americans, the U.S. Department has admitted to the fact that, okay, somebody has been arrested from a U.S. national has been arrested and taken into custody by NIA. And they have acknowledged that. However, they have not made any adverse statements or remarks on that. On the contrary, Ukraine has raised some serious concerns over the arrest of its 6 nationals. What Ukrainians suggest that the case may be politically motivated. And they are also trying to bring a Russian angle into it. Ukraine claims that this entire case may have been triggered by some inputs from the Russian side. They are completely denying the terror link at this point, and they strongly reject any link to terrorism. At this point, what we know of, Ukrainians say that they are themselves are the victims of Russian terror, and however, they are at this point calling for transparency, some sort of impartial investigation done by the Indian authorities, by NIA at this point. Along with that, Ukraine has also said that they are ready for full cooperation with Indian authorities. And they say that they cite some mutual legal assistance treaty with India as well. There are details that are unveiling as NIA investigates this entire issue, because there are 6 Ukrainians who have been taken into custody, and there are serious charges that have been imposed upon them. Section 18 of UAPA have been imposed upon them. They have been given into custody for 11 days. They have been charged with smuggling drones and other modern warfare equipments from India to Myanmar, and NIA is investigating if they have any links with some insurgent groups, not only in Myanmar, but here in India as well. Republic was also at the forefront in successfully extracting more details on it, and we also got the visuals of some training being provided by some foreign nationals,
right, Sarthak,
in the northeastern region of the country. So there are a lot more details that the NIA is trying to extract, and that is something only time will tell.
Right. Right, Sarthak. Thanks for getting us those details. In fact, Sarthak, Linthoi and Shambhavi continue being with us. We're also getting another breaking development. Now, Sons of Liberty International, a so-called non-profit organization run by the US mercenary who's been arrested, Matthew Aaron Van Dyke, has released their first statement on Van Dyke's arrest. Now, they have said that they are in close coordination with the US State Department over Van Dyke's arrest. In fact, they have also said that they are looking after the case very, very thoroughly along with the US State Department. In fact, that's not the only statement. They also said that this non-profit security consulting firm was founded by Matthew Van Dyke. In fact, the arrest of an American national in India has now uncovered several crucial leads in a high-level investigation encompassing national security angles.
Right. So this is the very first reaction that we are playing out for you. This is the Sons of, this is the organization Sons of Liberty International that has said that they're waiting for more details from the attorney, in touch with the US State Department, which is aware of Van Dyke's arrest, and that US State Department in touch with Indian local. That is the statement. And in fact, Ukraine's response, Gesu, has also come in. If you could just tell our viewers about that.
Right, Rakshita. In fact, Ukraine has been pretty aggressive about its response in a connection with 6 of its nationals who've been arrested. They've called the mercenary case politically motivated, all because Russian intelligence forces and the NIA back at home work together to nab the network. In fact, they have also said that this mercenary case is a Russian attempt to malign Ukraine globally. They've accused the NIA, India's National Investigation Agency's probe, of being politically motivated. Rakshita, in fact, also take us through the mercenaries being tied to sleeper cells, a larger angle that has now come to light.
Absolutely. So there is the sleeper cell angle also that has come to the fore. NIA is probing these links with the sleeper cells in the border region, and that's quite a porous border. NIA is probing if the mercenaries have had local support. The mercenaries were in touch with Manipur and Mizoram locals, and the mercenaries had even visited Andhra Pradesh. So that, of course, it's a big an alarming situation, in fact, that has been unfolding. And there could be, this could be the tip of the iceberg, Gesu, because it's a deeper conspiracy that also involves the American deep state.
Right, Rakshita. In fact, we have accessed Van Dyke's confession. Now, remember, this was made with the National Investigation Agency's probe. Now, Van Dyke says that he was working as embedded journalist with the US military in Iraq, and he drove motorcycles from Iraq to Afghanistan by way of Iran. That's first part of the statement that he's given to the National Investigation Agency.
Absolutely. In fact, he goes on to say that US State Department was unable to locate them for 2 days. State Department located... Okay, we're just trying to just tell you what he has in fact said. And this is the Fars News Agency, that is an Iranian agency, had issued the report that the State Department eventually had located Van Dyke and Britt and advised them to leave Iraq as soon as possible. So the other part of his confession says that he also went to his first anti-war protest the same day as his first CIA job interview. And in fact, Gesu, he also has mentioned about how he had filmed the US military in Afghanistan.
Exactly. And the fact that he went for a CIA interview. Now, viewers, remember, CIA is the Central Intelligence Agency, the core of all US intelligence. He gave an interview with the CIA, and he also went to his first anti-war protest the same day as his first CIA interview. And this is not what we're claiming. This is his statement, his verbatim, that he's confessed in front of the National Investigation Agency.
In fact, so that's, as I had mentioned, he has also said that in 2010, he had filmed the US military in Afghanistan as part of the War Zone Bikers project. And even in 2009, he has mentioned about Gesu, how he was the war correspondent for Baltimore Examiner.
Definitely, Rakshita. And in January and February, this is what Van Dyke says, that in January and February of 2009, he worked as a war correspondent for the Baltimore Examiner newspaper and was embedded with the US military in Iraq. Remember, he was also brought to safety by the US State Department when he was stuck in Iraq. In fact, we're continuously being joined by our colleagues, Linthoi, who joins us live from Imphal, Sarthak from New Delhi, and Shambhavi from the national capital.
In fact, Shambhavi continues to be with us. Shambhavi, if you could just tell us more about the confessions that have been made by Van Dyke. And the investigation also point towards the sleeper cells that could have been. In fact, we'll ask Linthoi about the sleeper cells. But what more can you tell us about the confessions made by Van Dyke here?
Definitely, when we look at the case, these are the 7 individuals who've been arrested, but allegedly there are 14 members in this entire team which were involved. The NIA is still interrogating on the part of where the rest of the members, where they were coming from, what was their route taken. And of course, we are continuously talking about the connection with the US Department about how it rescued Van Dyke from Iran. And then also he sat for an interview with CIA in 2004. And about his confession, of course, and how this all is a huge circle. Everything is now making sense with each breaking point, with each link that the public here is establishing. it makes sure that the entire conspiracy and the terror plot that they were planning, and also let's tell our viewers the 3 points on which they have been interrogated. They are being currently interrogated by NIA. The one is the training of the military, giving them military training of the ethnic border groups. Apart from that, they are also being interrogated about using India as a route in bringing drones and modern warfare equipments from Europe. And the other part is how they managed to enter Mizoram without the special permit, and then even managed to enter the war hit or the conflict hit. I'm very sorry, the conflict hit Myanmar at this point. And not just to Van Dyke, there has been several links with establishing Ukrainian citizens as well, the foreigners, the Ukrainian foreigners who've been caught, because in the 7 people that have been caught, there are 6 Ukrainian people and 1 US citizen. So with each link that Republic here today establishing this entire conspiracy, we're able to build it like a puzzle one by one. Rakshita.
Right. Thanks very much for joining in, Shambhavi, Sarthak, and even, in fact, Linthoi. Rakshita, what's next that we're tracking in this story?
In fact, we are trying to show how the developments have come in. There are fresh developments that have taken place in the NIA probe regarding the foreign mercenaries, the drone warfare training, the cross-border networks, and even the sleeper cell links. Now, sources suggest that it was Russian intelligence input that helped track and arrest the American national and 6 Ukrainians, all accused of training armed groups in Myanmar with possible spillover into India's northeast. Here's more.
7 foreign nationals, 6 Ukrainians and 1 American, Matthew Van Dyke, now in NIA custody till March 27th. Investigation now becoming murkier regarding mercenaries' role in destabilization India plot. Sources reveal it was a Russian intelligence input that triggered the crackdown. The input flagged a foreign network training anti-government armed groups in Myanmar. The input pointed to drone warfare training including assembly, operation and even jamming techniques, equipment routed through India, raising serious national security concerns.
A key input from Russian intelligence helped in the arrest of 7 foreign nationals. 7 foreign nationals including 6 Ukrainians and 1 US citizen. The Russian intelligence flagged off that a group of foreign nationals were giving military training to the armed group, which are usually ethnic armed group, which are usually found in the border of India and Myanmar. Apart from this, they were also giving drone warfare training from assembly to operations to also jamming them, so the whole entire package.
And now the spotlight is back on Manipur, a region that has seen years of ethnic violence, hundreds dead, thousands displaced. The probe has now expanded. NIA is looking at sleeper cells in border areas and the role of local contacts in Manipur and Mizoram. Sources say the foreign mercenaries were in touch with local networks and had even travelled to Andhra Pradesh.
The foreign mercenaries who went to Myanmar via Northeast didn't just travel through the Northeast, like cities like Guwahati, Imphal or Mizoram, but they also built a local network. Now, as they have been arrested and the investigation is on, investigating agencies are also looking into deeper sleeper modules that could have existed. The local networks that they have used to cross over the border to Myanmar are also under scanner.
Investigators believe this may not be just 7 individuals, but part of a larger group of 14, some of whom may still be in Myanmar. Meanwhile, Sons of Liberty International has responded, saying it is in touch with the US State Department and awaiting more details from Indian officials.
Sons of Liberty International, the organization founded by Matthew Van Dyke, has reacted to his arrest, saying it is awaiting more details from lawyers and the NIA. The group also says it is in touch with the US State Department, which is aware of the situation and in contact with Indian authorities. Van Dyke, an American national, is among 7 foreign nationals arrested in the NIA's drone terror probe. His arrest has now added both an international and national security dimension to the entire investigation.
As agencies now try to unravel the full conspiracy, the pattern here is hard to ignore. Foreign operatives routing weapons through local networks in India. The question now, is this just an isolated module or part of a much larger global destabilization plot targeting India?
Oil crisis intensifies. Iran war starts to pinch. Iran offers off-ramp by Hormuz tax. Debating tonight at 9 p.m.
Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates. IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मम्मा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा, सबका राजा आर्थिक मसाला।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ। हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
प्यास बुझाए, ठंडक लाए, सबको भाई जीरा से। MDH का जलजीरा जीरा से।
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MDH।
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
First we saw the people dying, the killings, and that's continuing, destruction of infrastructure, and now the economic impact. The economic impact will affect everybody across the world. You know, the price of LNG, cooking gas has already gone up. So it is a very serious problem. We're all going to suffer. So we all have to work to make sure it ends soon. And I hope that, led by our Prime Minister, Executive Minister, we will work on that.
ठीक है मंडू भेज दे रहा है। ठीक है ना भेज रहा मंडू।
Oil crisis intensifies. Iran war starts to pinch. Iran offers off-ramp by Hormuz tax. Debating tonight at 9 p.m.
Presented by Amity University, ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally. Powered by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, growing legacies since 1820. Century Premium Plus. Jaguar Bath and Light. Co-powered by UTI Mutual Fund, Haq, Ek Behatar Zindagi Ka. TVS N-Torq 150, India's first 150cc hyper sport scooter. Muthoot Finance Gold Loan, Sona kya nahi kar sakta. Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
रानी इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और परेशान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
American mercenary, a CIA agent, Ukraine versus Russia fight breaks out. American deep state at work in India, debating tonight at 8 p.m.
Co-powered by Green Ply. हर जरूरत का रिप्लाई.
Oil crisis intensifies. Iran war starts to pinch. Iran offers off-ramp by Hormuz tax. Debating tonight at 9 p.m.
Presented by Amity University, ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally. Powered by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, growing legacies since 1820. Century Premium Plus. Jaguar Bath and Light. Co-powered by UTI Mutual Fund, Haq, Ek Behetar Zindagi Ka. TVS N-Torq 150, India's first 150cc hyper sport scooter. Muthoot Finance Gold Loan. Sona kya nahi kar sakta.
American mercenary, a CIA agent, Ukraine versus Russia fight breaks out. American deep state at work in India, debating tonight at 8 p.m.
Co-powered by Green Ply. हर जरूरत का रिप्लाई.
Oil crisis intensifies. Iran war starts to pinch. Iran offers off-ramp by Hormuz tax. Debating tonight at 9 p.m.
Presented by Amity University, ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally. Powered by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, growing legacies since 1820. Century Premium Plus. Jaguar Bath and Light. Co-powered by UTI Mutual Fund, Haq, Ek Behetar Zindagi Ka. TVS N-Torq 150, India's first 150cc hyper sport scooter. Muthoot Finance Gold Loan. Sona kya nahi kar sakta.
American mercenary, a CIA agent, Ukraine versus Russia fight breaks out. American deep state at work in India, debating tonight at 8 p.m.
Co-powered by Green Ply. हर जरूरत का रिप्लाई.
Oil crisis intensifies. Iran war starts.
From the Republic Media Network headquarters, it's time for Arnab Goswami on the debate. Arnab Goswami on the debate.
On the show tonight, a huge war breaks out, a huge battle of words breaks out, huge power play breaks out over this man, Matthew Van Dyke, a very dangerous American mercenary. Now the Americans, we are told, are trying to put pressure to get him released. But India should not release Matthew Van Dyke unless Trump comes and asks himself. And at 9 o'clock tonight, global markets down 3%, Sensex down over 2,000 points. It's not about whether it will happen. The energy crisis has already hit the world markets very hard, and it could get worse. And ladies and gentlemen, a global war, as I predicted, has happened and turned out that it's going to get worse over Matthew Van Dyke. Yesterday onwards, I've been talking about the story for the last 2 days. Matthew Van Dyke is a 45 to 47-year-old American-trained mercenary. He goes around the world fighting for American interests. He's believed to be working on behalf of the CIA and the American intelligence agencies. Ladies and gentlemen, on the 13th of March, Matthew Van Dyke was arrested from Kolkata. He was operating in India's northeast. And what he was trying to do was take drones and arms from India through the land route into Myanmar. And why is he taking this to Myanmar? Because in Myanmar, America wants to build big military bases so that America has influence across the Indian border in Myanmar, and they can base themselves there, their mercenaries, their soldiers, their trained, armed, quote-unquote, supported and financed rebel groups to fight both India and Myanmar. And this is the reason why I have long suspected that there is an American hand in Manipur. Otherwise, why did American mercenaries reach Mizoram and Manipur? How are drones landing in Manipur? Who is training these people? It is these Americans who are directly or indirectly involved in carrying out terrorist activities, whether from Myanmar towards India or sitting here in India through third parties. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Van Dyke, he's caused a global crisis. He's a 46-year-old from Baltimore, an American, and according to the inputs of the airport immigration officials and the Bidhannagar police, he was detained at Kolkata airport on 12th March 2026, just before he was going to take a Fly Dubai flight, FZ462 to Dubai. From Dubai, he was planning to take another flight to Warsaw in Poland via a flight FZ1839. I have the numbers. The NIA formally took him to custody on 14th of March 2026. Now he is in our custody. And my information is the backroom discussions have begun. The American embassy is working the phones. The American officials are trying to contact high-ranking Indian officials to somehow secure the release of this man, 46-year-old Matthew Van Dyke. He's clearly hot property because every time he goes and does something important for the American military, then he gets into trouble and they get him out. And he's made a story of this. Wherever he goes, he's fighting for American interests. So if he's here in India, I have no doubt about it, he's fighting for the interests of Donald Trump. Let me list out his history of getting detained in foreign countries and being rescued. In 2009, Van Dyke was arrested in Iraq, and the American State Department worked very hard to secure his release, ladies and gentlemen. Which means for America, for the America's CIA, for their intelligence agencies, for their entire military setup, Matthew Van Dyke is a very important person. These people never rescued so many Americans in Vietnam or even in the Middle East, so many Americans are stuck. But the American State Department is not trying to get them out. They're just giving warnings. You want to get out on your own, you do. But for Matthew Van Dyke, I'm told everybody is involved. Even Sergio Gore is getting involved right now, the new Trump-supported ambassador who's landed in Delhi. In 2010, Matthew Van Dyke landed in Afghanistan. And when he lands in Afghanistan, again he was arrested. Again, the American military sent planes to secure his release and get him out. So he's not an ordinary property. He's hot property. Every time the American government uses huge influence to bail him out from different places, Iraq, Afghanistan, they've used influence and put pressure to have him released, which means they are going to do the same thing now that India has got him. The Americans are going to start building pressure on the Modi government and everyone to somehow get him out, which means this man knows secrets, knows operations, knows everything. Sometimes Matthew Van Dyke goes as a journalist. Sometimes he goes as a biker. He says, I'm a biker, I like biking. But he's not a journalist. He's not a biker. He's a dangerous American military mercenary doing all kinds of things for the Americans, that dirty job man. He's so big that he took 6 Ukrainians with him as part of his private army. And the Ukrainian embassy got involved today. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ukrainian embassy got involved in this and said, no, we are not behind it. It is the Russians who are behind the arrest of Matthew Van Dyke, which means Matthew Van Dyke is such hot property that he's caught in a fight between India, Zelensky, Donald Trump, and Vladimir Putin. So who is this man? What does he do? Why are foreign embassies issuing press releases about him? The Ukrainian embassy in India claimed in a press release that it is Russia, as an aggressor state, that seeks every circumstance to drive a wedge between friendly countries, Ukraine and India. And they further claim that any attempts to use this case of Matthew Van Dyke to discredit Ukraine or introduce distrust in Ukraine-India relations appear to be a deliberate attempt to harm the bilateral partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, are you realizing how important this is? Matthew Van Dyke is such an important man that between Moscow and Kiev and Washington and New Delhi and maybe even Beijing, hotlines are abuzz. He has a group, a front group called Sons of Liberty International. This is a front group. It's a mercenary group or a so-called quasi-religious group, I don't know. But I know that it's a mercenary backing group. This group says we are awaiting details from his attorney, but has gone on to say and reveal that we are also expecting the American State Department to save him. So these guys also know that the American State Department, their foreign ministry, their CIA, their international agencies, all will come together to catch a man who's sitting today and who should be rotting in that jail in Kolkata, wherever he is caught. And they are saying we are in touch with local authorities in India. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you'd probably be thinking, what the hell is going on? Who is this man? Matthew Van Dyke, who Arnab has been going on about for such a long time. Let's be clear about it. There is a clear and obvious CIA link between all of this. Ladies and gentlemen, he's a CIA man. He joined the CIA in the year 2004. And the CIA is such an organization. He says, I went to my anti-war protest as my day of my first CIA interview. So let's turn the clock back. Let's turn the clock back 22 years when Matthew Van Dyke was 24-year-old. At the age of 24, he joined the CIA. And directly or indirectly, he is working for the CIA. Everything else is a cover. So a CIA man, ladies and gentlemen, who has even issued global appeals to mercenaries to join groups in Venezuela, Myanmar, and Iran, who's a transnational mercenary leader, is today in Kolkata in a jail. Can you imagine the amount of phone calls that are going from Washington to save him? Somehow save this man. What is this battle all about? Why has America sent its most important foreign mercenary to India, to the northeast? What was he doing there? Let me tell you what he was doing there. He was furthering the interests of the American deep state. The same American deep state who I have been saying to you for a long time has interests in Chittagong, in Bangladesh, in parts of Myanmar, and large parts of India's northeast, including Manipur and Mizoram. They want a base there, they want a military base there, they will use any amount of distortion, use of social media, use of foreign mercenaries, use of armed players, playing around like they have done in different parts of the world to create a military base for themselves. And why do they want to create a military base for themselves? For that, you have to simply see the map of India's northeast and see the borders with Bangladesh and the border of Myanmar. Ladies and gentlemen, today in power in Myanmar is a junta, a military junta, ladies and gentlemen, which has largely got good relations with China. India also has some influence over it. Now, in the entire part bordering Assam, Manipur, Mizoram, India's northeast, the Americans want to have a presence. Because the Americans can have a presence close to India's northeast, they can use it to pressurize India, which is going to be the world's third largest economy. We already have the third largest army. So they want to get into that area to play a game with both China for control of Myanmar and therefore through that control of Southeast Asia, and also put a pressure point right on the border of India's northeast, an armed pressure point vis-a-vis India. So imagine a situation that we might have in the future if we allow these kind of mercenaries to get away. We would have Pakistan on our west, we would have China across the entire north and northeast, and we would not have Myanmar, ladies and gentlemen, across the northeast. We would have a very, 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 very violent and dangerous country called the United States of America, positioning its military right across our northeast. Now, will we sit down and allow this to happen? Will we sit down and say, let it happen? Let's look the other way. I say not. I am from the northeastern part of India, ladies and gentlemen. I am from the state of Assam. And therefore, I issue this appeal to our government. I issue this appeal to our government. I issue this appeal to everyone watching this. I issue this appeal to the nationalists in the country. Do not ignore and do not fail to counter the moves of these foreign countries and foreign mercenaries which impact our northeast. Do not wait to take action anymore. Act harder and faster and more directly than the enemy expects. When those phone calls come from Washington, which I'm sure they are coming now, I am sure they are coming now, then tell Sergio Gore to simply mind his own business. And through Sergio Gore, tell Donald Trump that you might have got this man out of Afghanistan and Iraq in the past. But this is the Republic of India. This is where a mercenary like Matthew Van Dyke should never have come. And now that he has, now that he's been caught, there is no getting away this time. Absolutely not. Let's debate.
Matthew Van Dyke, an American mercenary, a man with deep connections with Washington, D.C. A man who has used his American deep state links to walk through battlefields. From Iraq to Afghanistan, from Syria to Libya, documenting conflict from the front lines. In 2009, embedded with US military in Iraq, arrested by Iraqi police, released after State Department intervention. In 2010, back again in active war zones, in Afghanistan this time, as part of War Zone Bikers Project. Arrested by Afghan police, and again rescued by US military, a mercenary with deep access. Fast forward to now in March 2026. Van Dyke is arrested by the NIA along with 6 Ukrainians, all accused of training armed groups and building a network across India and Myanmar. The breakthrough came from Moscow, according to sources.
A key import from Russian intelligence helped in the arrest of 7 foreign nationals. 7 foreign nationals, including 6 Ukrainians and 1 US citizen. The Russian intelligence flagged off that a group of foreign nationals were giving military training to the armed group, which are usually ethnic armed group, which are usually found in the border of India and Myanmar.
A Russian intelligence input flagging their role in drone warfare training of rebels in Myanmar. Now the probe is deepening. NIA is tracking local contacts, possible sleeper cells across Manipur and Mizoram.
The foreign mercenaries who went to Myanmar via Northeast didn't just travel through the Northeast, like cities like Guwahati, Imphal or Mizoram. The local networks that they have used to cross over the border to Myanmar are also under scanner.
But this is no longer just an investigation. It's geopolitics. Ukraine has hit back, calling the case possibly politically motivated, accusing Russia of trying to drive a wedge between India and Ukraine, denying any role in anti-India activities.
Ukraine has raised serious concerns over the arrest of its 6 nationals in the NIA's drone terror probe, saying the case could be politically motivated. In its statement, the Ukrainian embassy has suggested that the case may have started based on inputs from the Russian side. Ukraine has denied any link to terrorism and said it is itself a victim of terror.
The mercenary case now gets murky, involving an American with a war-zone past, Ukrainian nationals with the army background under scanner, and a Russian tip-off that triggered it all.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have with me to start with Xavier Rodriguez. We all know him as the editor-in-chief of the Goa Chronicles, but I know him as a person who has deep understanding of intelligence, excellent understanding of intelligence. Sometimes I think he's an agent himself. He knows so much about it. And General Pradeep Nair is with us tonight, former Director General of the Assam Rifles, joining us from Hyderabad. Sierra Claire is there. She's joining us from Los Angeles. She's a foreign policy expert, has joined us in some of our recent debates. This is an unusual subject. What's happened is, Sierra, that there is this man, his name is Matthew Van Dyke. He's made a film called Point and Shoot. And he's a sort of a private military contractor who is with the CIA, joined the CIA in 2004, then claims that he's a tourist, sometimes goes driving around on motorcycles, sometimes he says he's a journalist, but basically he's there pushing war on behalf of America. So he has been